This is why I used to call the Chondriana, from mitochondria, I coined the word Chondriana. The reason for it, because the very first primitive life forms, the Chondrianas, they only contain 2 organelles. In comparing to the rest of in comparing to the modern cells, which have many organelles in there. And these 2 organelles were the mitochondria, very high density mitochondria, and the primitive mitochondria, not as well developed as ours, and giant vacuoles. And these giant vacuoles were digesting the viruses and recycling it as the Chondrianas were vacuuming it up. The Chondrianas like little vacuum cleaners. They have a mouth like a sack. They can open it like the shutter of a camera. And they go and they can map up all the viruses and all the bacteria. And matter of fact, they can also attack, actually swallow whole cells and attack tissues and recycle it. But inside of them, they have these little factories, these little vacuoles, which digesting everything and recycle it back to normal. They also lay some spores, from which spores then the killer cells evolve. So what they do, they go into, let's say for a cancerous tumor, and they lay there, and these evolving killer cells then consume the cancerous tissues and they recycle it. But they're very super intelligent. They're very intelligent. They go and attack the root system, the feed system of the cancer first. So then the cancer eventually dies. The tumor eventually dies as they cut off the supply from them. But let's go back to the Chondriana, because I'd like to elaborate a little bit more on the immune system. Why we had so many Chondrianas? Because one way I also made the Chondriana from the primordial cells. Primordial cells can be found in many places in our body, germ cells. So you know we have a very complex immune system. We go to the bone marrow where the B lymphocytes are being produced, B cells. These are really the patrol our body, who is producing the antibodies activation by the T cells. The stem cells from the bone marrow goes to the thymus, where they get activated and maturing into B cells that produce antibodies. Of course, T cells. There's a number of different types of T cells too. But in the bone marrow, we have fetal tissue, just like in the thymus, and just like in our sex organs. Now, when a female conceives, the first thing will evolve is fetal tissue. The 3 layers of the skin, the endoderm, the mesoderm, and the exoderm. And from the first you evolve the skin, and the second evolve the bones, and the third one the internal organs. And this plays a very important part also on what type of stem cells you're going to develop in your bone marrow. And I don't think that in scientific circle they're clear about this. This is why we have so many different types of immune cells. Depending on which layer of this fetus tissue those immune cells evolved. Now, I'm going to get to a point to prove it to you that we had a primary immune system which we lost. Once they, from the thymus, then they go into the lymph channel and the lymph nodes and the spleen. These are the lymphatic organs, and these cells will circulate in your lymph system to patrolling your body to get ready if you need to be defended. But I came to the conclusion when I was searching for our origin. I was searching for the primordial cytoplasm to find out where we came from. And I wound up studying the germicidal centers, which is not only present in the lymphatic system, but also in our sex organs, both male and female. And I was able to synthetically, in vitro, from human genetic material, reproduce these germ centers. And to my surprise, I found that from a female germ center, I could produce either an ovum or a spermatozoa. Then I took a male germinal center, and from the male germinal center, again, I could produce either spermatozoa or a female ovum, depending on the balance of the hormones, female and male hormones. So I had sort of control on it. Now I went studying further the function of these primordial cells and what is the relationship between the sex cells and the primordial cells. Primordial cells can differentiate into any type of cells. I can take a primordial cell from a sex cells, and the same primordial cell can be differentiated into any organ cells, because they too, it's like fetal tissue. These are the origin, the undifferentiated cells. So you can go many different directions depending on how you control it and how you're handling the energy level. Now, during my studies, I also found out that taking antibiotics will suppress not only the immune system, but also all the germ cell production, from the bone marrow to the thymus to the sex cells. And the sperm count will nosedive after taking antibiotics. There's a lot of other factors which can also affect the degeneration or the destruction of the stem cell production for certain type of chemicals, radiation. Give you an example, for example. When they dropped the bomb in Hiroshima, 15 days later, people were bleeding to death from internal bleeding because the platelet production was destroyed by radiation. And the rest of them died from infections because the whole immune system and the whole primordial cell production was destroyed by radiation. Now, a lot of chemicals does the same thing. When I was giving live crystal intravenously, not me personally, but doctors in the clinic, then the sperm count, male sperm count, increased 300 to 400% due to the increase of primordial cell production. Increasing the energy level of the primordial cell production, primordial cells, instead of evolving into spermatozoa or ovum, they develop and differentiate into giant lymphocytes and T cells to protect you. Now, going a step further, I also found out a little bit more depth that primordial cells themselves can defend you. And the fetus in the woman is defended by primordial cell. That's the only place they are present. But now if you increase the energy level on these germinal centers, then you can increase the production of your primordial cells, which in turn will help to rejuvenate all your organs because you're producing more cells, but also lifting your immune system. And you can bring back your immune system to the point that it will defend you against diseases, mostly for prevention. It was very interesting to note during the research that I also was looking at immune cells with antibodies. These antibodies are produced inside the cell. So inside the cell, you can defend yourself too. The enzymes inside your cell attacking into the virus. I have videotaped documentary on it, how an enzyme removes the coding of a virus so the Chondriana can move in and destroy it, or inside the cell, they recycle